All right, so after making a few videos on this drone right here, which is the all new DJI FLIP, I know a lot of people in the comments section have been asking, what do you recommend if I were to pick up something like this, the DJI Mini 3? And for those that haven't seen my previous videos, I did do a bunch of comparison videos on the FLIP versus the Mini 4 Pro versus the Hover Air, the Pro Max version. And I also put it up against DJI's other latest drone, the DJI Neo. Now the reason why the Mini 3 will come up in comparison to the FLIP is because of the price point. The Mini 3 comes in at $420 or $419, and the DJI FLIP comes in at $439. So when it comes to price, these are very similar, and they both come with their remote control. It's the basic remote control, the RCN1 remote control here, as well as the RCN3 remote control for the FLIP. Both of them are very, very similar, and you're gonna need your mobile device to put into the very top of it. So in this video, let's go through some of the similarities of these two drones, but more importantly, what are some of the differences that you might want to know if you are looking at these, you're looking at the price point, the features. Should I go with the newer DJI FLIP, which actually just came out in January 2025? And this one right here, it's still on the market. DJI still sells it through their website. However, this is a 2-year-old drone. The DJI Mini 3 came out in December 2022. So you're looking at about 2-year difference between these two drones right here. Now the first similarity of these two drones, they both come in under 250 grams. They both are around 249 grams on both of them. The DJI Mini 3 does have a couple options when it comes down to batteries. So they have a lower and a higher capacity battery. The lower capacity battery keeps you under that 250 gram mark. The higher capacity battery will push you over. And depending on where you live, that 250 gram mark is a pretty big deal because most drones that sit under 250 grams, you don't need to register with the FAA. However, if you are flying a drone that's over 250, again, depending on where you live and your regulations, you might have to register your drone with the FAA. So both of these drones do come in under that 250 gram mark, lower capacity battery here on the Mini 3. Next similarity is the camera. Both these drones have a 1/1.3 inch sensor. They also both have an f1.7 aperture. Both drones can shoot JPEG and RAW photos up to 48 megapixels. Now the one thing I did notice, even though they have the same aperture size, is that the camera, much newer on the DJI FLIP, does have a little bit more vibrant colors even when they're both shot in normal mode. And you can definitely tell that the dynamic range is better on the FLIP compared to the Mini 3. And while the gimbals look a little bit different on both drones, they are both 3-axis gimbals. Having that gimbal definitely does give you some better quality and more stable footage. If you were to compare that to something like the DJI Neo, that only has a 1-axis gimbal, and as well as it uses electronic image stabilization. These both have 3-axis gimbals, even though they look a little bit different. Next similarity we have is that they are both rated for level 5 wind resistance. However, when they are in the air, in my opinion, the FLIP, I would say, kind of moves around a little bit more, mainly because of the fact that I think the propeller guards take on a little bit more wind. So you'll see this probably struggle a little bit more than the DJI Mini 3. The Mini series in general, the Mini 3, the Mini 3 Pro, the Mini 4 Pro, they fly super smooth in the air. So even though they are both rated for level 5 wind resistance, I would say the Mini 3, this flies a little bit smoother. And finally, the last thing we'll talk about as far as similarities go is that both of them have really good transmission, video transmission, that connection between your remote control and the drone. This one runs on the DJI O2 or OcuSync 2 technology, giving you about 10 kilometers in range. Where here on the DJI FLIP, runs on the new O4 technology, giving you about 13 kilometers in range. Next, we'll talk about the differences between these two. Why would I want one over the other? Let's talk about those right now. And of course, I'm just talking about, I would say, more of the high level stuff. I have in-depth details and comparisons between these and other drones, as well as all the features it has. That's in a separate video. Also, lots of in-depth videos on this one right here, the DJI Mini 3. I have separate videos on that, so I'm not going to touch upon all of the features. Just for me, what I feel like some of the major differences are. And also we'll talk about which one I would probably choose if I were to stay within that budget range of their prices. 420 and 440. We'll talk about which one I would choose towards the end. First, we'll talk about the DJI FLIP. Why would I want the FLIP? Well, if you're the type to want a drone that can follow you, that can perform a bunch of quick shot maneuvers, and you don't necessarily want to pull out your remote control in order for you to capture them, you can do that here with the DJI FLIP. Now, what does that really mean? Well, if you're someone that goes on hikes a lot or jogging, riding your bike, and you just want to be able to put it up in the air, get a quick shot, bring it back in, and you don't want to fumble around with hooking up your phone to the remote control just to get a basic shot, the DJI FLIP can be controlled basically with no remote control, or it can be controlled with your mobile phone. So if your main objective is just to get some quick shots around your location, or you want the drone to follow you on your run, your biking, the DJI FLIP would definitely be your best option because you don't need a remote. You don't need anything. You can just put it up in the air, press the button here on the side, choose which quick shot you want to do, and then the drone will automatically perform those maneuvers. We're here on the DJI Mini 3. You're going to need to hook it up to your remote control. You can't use just the app like you can here, and there is no automated modes by using no remote controls. You can't just point it towards you and do any of that stuff. So you need to actually have the remote control, hook up your phone to it in order for you to fly and do those maneuvers with this drone. Once it's hooked up to the remote control and the app, of course, you also have the quick shot modes here. It's just this one allows you to do it without a remote. Next obvious reason why this one is different is this right here. We have propeller guards. So for the size, or actually it comes in a little bit smaller than the Mini 3 when you put them side by side. These do not have propeller guards. So if you are going to be flying in, I would say, tighter places, I talked about it in my previous videos, if you're doing things like maybe indoor real estate shots and you're worried about maybe hitting the doorway or the wall, or if your main objective, again, is to have the drone follow you and you just want that extra protection if it is following you from behind, you have propeller guards on this drone. They are built-in propeller guards. They do sell separate propeller guards for the Mini 3, however, it makes your drone pretty big. Here with the FLIP, they are built in, so you don't have to worry about attaching anything to it. And to me, honestly, with the cameras being very, very similar, the FLIP kind of feels like a DJI Mini 3 with built-in propeller guards. Next advantage of the FLIP is that we do have this front infrared 3D sensor, which allows you to have some obstacle avoidance when the drone is following you. However, we don't have that 360 omnidirectional sensing like we do have on something like the DJI Mini 4 Pro. However, it's still an upgrade over the Mini 3. The Mini 3 does not have any front obstacle sensing. So if you are gonna fly this and it comes up on something, the drone will not see it. Where here we have that ability to at least slow the drone down a little bit here with that sensor on the front. Another advantage we have here on the DJI FLIP, for those that like to do a little bit more post-processing, we do have a D-Log-M color profile. So it does shoot in that flatter profiles. Next, we'll jump over to this, the DJI Mini 3, and this is something I've talked about a lot since it came out, that this is probably one of the best drones you can get for the money without having to step up to the higher ones like the Mini 4 Pro, the Air 3S, and all of the other higher drones. This drone right here is probably my favorite as far as the lowest tier drone you're gonna wanna pick up that has a ton of functions as well as a really, really good camera. First benefit of the Mini 3 is, like I talked about a little bit earlier, we have long battery life on this drone. There's two different options that you can fly with the Mini 3. There's a lower capacity battery, which allows you to stay under that 250 gram mark, and it gives you about 38 minutes of rated flight time. Or you can get the higher capacity one, which this one is. The higher capacity battery gives you up to 51 minutes of rated flight time. Again, the higher capacity one will bring you over that 250 gram mark, where here on the DJI FLIP, they only have one option of battery, and this battery is rated for 31 minutes. So when it comes down to flight time, and if you want to have the longest flight time, we have that here on the DJI Mini 3. Next advantage we have here on the Mini 3 compared to the FLIP is that we have true 4K vertical shooting, which allows you to turn the camera in the app, or you just press the button, the camera will then turn from horizontal to vertical, and now you can actually shoot in 4K vertical. So the FLIP does allow you to shoot in a vertical like frame. However, you're not gonna get that 4K quality. It will crop it down to 2.7K. And next reason why I would pick the Mini 3 is the size. Even though the DJI FLIP can fold down, the Mini 3 is still even more compact than the DJI FLIP. And finally, last advantage of the DJI Mini 3 was definitely a bunch of other ones, but for me, I would say the biggest one here is the sound of the drone. The DJI Mini 3 sounds a lot quieter than the DJI FLIP. And there it is. It's just some of the differences between the two. Now, if you were to ask me which one I would get, I would probably honestly lean towards the Mini 3, even though it's a couple years old. For me, I like to fly a little bit quiet out there, and considering that the cameras are very, very similar, I'd like to have a little quieter of a drone. I'm not gonna be flying my drone through homes or anything like that. So if you are just buying a drone for real estate, actually the Flip might be a little bit better, because for me, I don't really do that stuff. So I would probably still pick up the Mini 3 over the Flip for those reasons. We also have a little bit longer flight time, which is always nice to have that ability to just hang out in the air and wait for certain things to happen compared to the Flip. And again, the gimbal, the camera, everything is solid on both of these. Where here on the Mini 3, you actually have one more advantage, which I didn't talk about earlier, the ability to have the camera point upwards more than the Flip. So if you were flying under something and you want that camera to have a little upward movement, you actually have the advantage here on the Mini 3 over this drone here. So those are just some of the differences between the Mini 3 and the Flip. Again, this is a 2-year-old drone, but it is really solid and haven't had any problems with it. Again, the Flip, very good as well. Some of the use cases, you might want to lean over to the Flip for those auto, follow functions and those quick shots, and you don't need a remote control. Definitely has that ability here where we don't have it on the Mini 3. And of course, it comes down to price. That's the reason why we're comparing them. $420 Mini 3 with a remote, $440 DJI Flip with a remote control. Which one are you guys picking between these two? Let me know down in the comment section. Again, if you guys haven't seen my full in-depth review videos on each one of these, as well as my comparison videos, I'll leave those all linked down below. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is Ultra Saucio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.